This is a descriptive personal essay from your reader, Steps to Writing Well. And this is an A example of how description should work as evidence in a descriptive personal essay. So first, it has an interesting title. And that title is tied to a metaphor that begins in the first paragraph and then is referenced again in the conclusion. This idea that that Mike has, this friend, that children are tree climbing dreamers or dirt children who play in the dirt and are not imaginative and follow the rules. And that these two different people have two very different experiences, and that tree climbing children want to stay in the trees and stare at the clouds and never grow up, because to grow up is to lose the magic of that experience. And the speaker says that she also had a tree climbing childhood, but the inevitable fall to the ground is something she makes her peace with, whereas Mike cannot. Now, all the details here about this conversation, we get a concrete, specific conversation. We can hear what Mike is saying, and what he's saying is meaningful to the overarching message of this essay. We also get physical details about Mike himself, which support the reader's point that Mike has this sort of hopeless romantic about him, with this long ponytail, these sullen black clothes, these dark glinting eyes, that he's this brooding romantic who has a Peter Pan complex and wants to remain a kid forever in the trees. Whereas the writer also had these idyllic summers that are contrasted with that are set in a Milwaukee neighborhood that has these rigid, militant, like white bearded old generals with icicles hanging from their mustaches style houses. That feeling of these houses is very forbidding. Until summer, when everything becomes softer and they're having grass-stained tea parties. So here, these details have served to create a point of contrast that is part of the overarching point, is that the childhood, these summer breaks that are now going to end as they are transitioning from being in school to getting jobs and working 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, 52 weeks a year, except for 2-week vacations, that these were full of nature again. And this nature is concrete and specific. And it's warm and it's inviting, as opposed to just, hey, there was a sunset with a warm glow, which is what we got in our ChatGPT essay. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm golden glow in the backyard. Compare that with kids playing stickball, elegant, grass-stained tea parties with a neighborhood girl named Shelley, while my grandfather worked in his thriving vegetable garden among honeybees and watched sprouts grow. An ever-present warming smell of yeast filtering down every street as a nearby brewery pumped a constant flow of fresh beer. Above the summer sky looked like an Easter egg God had dipped in blue dye. How do these details create a mood and send a message that's different from the message conveyed here by this party? All we have is the sentence, grass-stained tea party. But it's specific. Can you see the children sitting in the grass? What do grass stains evoke? What do they mean? It's kids playing, it's getting messy, and in fact it's sort of at odds with this idea of elegant, and yet it is. It's idyllic as you look back on it. These moments when you could sit in the grass and play and not care about the grass staining your clothes and your tablecloth, and that your grandparents don't care either. They would rather just have this experience. That we can imply from that one sentence. There is love behind that. Here we have people with beaming smiles and bursts of laughter and vibrant colors, shimmering lights, balloons of every hue imaginable, but we can't see that the way you can see a grass-stained tea party, or the way you can see kids playing stickball. That's we get an idea of an activity they're doing. Here, we don't know what's going on. Just a lot of description that doesn't go to any sort of point. And the idea of yeast from these nearby breweries, what does that send a message about? Well, we get a sense of the class and the industrialization that's so close to this idyllic backyard at her grandparents' house where she's a child. And this is somewhere that they go and get to stay all summer long. And look we have specific, so I itched with this repressed energy throughout the long plane ride from the West Coast. We couldn't wait to see Grandma and Papa. We couldn't wait to see what presents Papa had for us. We couldn't wait to slide down steep, blue carpeted staircases on our bottoms and then on our stomachs. And most of all, we couldn't wait to go down to the basement. In the essay from ChatGPT, we also have excitement and anticipation and eagerly awaited. But those details don't have meaning and purpose the way this does. We can feel this. Have you ever slid down the stairs on your bottom and then turned around and done it on your stomach? That's something only a little kid does. And why is it thrilling? Because it's a little bit dangerous. Maybe you're gonna knock your teeth out or slip and hurt yourself. And kids want that. They seek that within a safe space. And what could be safer than this grandparent's house? And then this basement, all this sort of stairs lead you to this basement, which is where this writer is going to center these memories. And sort of ironically making the basement into their tree house. This place underground, which was the place that they thought about and imagined the rest of the world. And again, specific concrete details so that we can see this, we can hear it, we can feel it, we understand why it mattered to them. Their voices echoing up and down the laundry room chute. Have you ever had one of those? My grandparents had one of those in their house, and as a kid, it was the most magical thing. And so anyone who has experienced this, the magic of you can throw your clothes through this shaft in the bathroom and they are immediately delivered down to a waiting laundry bin. Though usually they don't hit the bin, they go different places. And if you are unlucky like we are, sometimes a kid tries to jump down that chute and that is a different experience entirely. But this laundry chute is fascinating for kids because it transports things from one place to another, and it's a little bit dangerous and yet exciting, and you don't have to carry your clothes down by yourself. And you can shout your voice down it. And it feels like you're sending a secret message to some other place. Especially if it's something you only have at a grandparent's house, not at your own home. Which I think they were discontinued because of the number of kids who, yes, tried to climb up and down them. So, and the basement, again, is something that we can feel. And it's contrasted to the hot upstairs rooms that have no air conditioning. It's cool. And it has 7 rooms and they're dark. And some you have to wait years to explore because you're a little nervous. But again, that fear is part of the excitement and the joy of exploring and of growing up. Which is the overarching message that this essay is trying to convey, is that even though growing up is perhaps leaving some things behind, it's also a continued adventure, and you carry these things with you. So, and then in the return to this space, after her grandparents have left, it's now not the same. And so the reader is able to embrace those memories from the past, but move forward into a new future with new possibilities. Those dreams are enabling a forward movement, and it contrasts with Mike's sense of being trapped. That last summer, I found myself, much to Mike's disappointment, quite mature, quite adult. Maybe Mike fell from a tree and was bruised. Climbing down from a tree doesn't have to be something to be afraid of. One needn't hide the tree for fear of touching the ground and forgetting how to climb back up when necessary. I think there's a way to balance the two extremes. Climb down gracefully as you grow up. And if you fall, don't land in quicksand. I like to think I'm more of a shrubbery child, not so low as to get stuck in the mud, just high enough to look at the sky and make cloud pictures. This is the final point of the essay. And the details have supported this sort of point that the writer is in this middle space, able to embrace childhood and maturity and go back and forth fluidly without being trapped. So, this is an essay that works in comparison with the fail of the ChatGPT essay, where the details didn't lead to a point and didn't create something specific and concrete that we could feel, that we could hear, that we could see, that could relate to us and create a connection. Because without that connection, it's just words.